What's up, homies? It's Chris Angell.
And Aaron.
Welcome to another episode of The Mindful CEO, where we are slaying the dragons of hustle culture one mindful moment at a time.
That's right. Yeah. Go.
Kaka!
We did it.
Uh,
Go.
Wings of fury.
Go.
Well, we're in the a mindful CEO mastermind. We are starting a new series this week. For those that aren't there yet, I know you're missing out. You're have massive FOMO right now that you're not part
Oh,
of these
FOMO.
deep conversations. And we're starting a new series on intuition, which I think is very interesting. I mean, how many of us don't want to be more intuitive about the opportunities of life, right?
Hmm.
The breakthroughs, the innovations, the all that. But Aaron, why don't you set this up because I know you set it up.
All right. Well, so I've been reading No Self, No Problem, and he talks in there about intuition being a function of the right brain. And it got me thinking about, one of the things that's been fascinating to me about meditation is the thinning of the veil, the degree to which I've had experiences of being tapped into the universal consciousness, intuition as a way, one way to express or point to in the direction of when one is tapped into the universal consciousness, which you'd have to just stop. I think we have to just stop for a second and acknowledge, because I don't know that I take this for granted.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably a leap for most people,
Yeah.
which is surprising to me, but it might be that it occurs for people, like for most people it occurs like consciousness. You are conscious, and where consciousness lives is in your head, like it's a local
Mm-hmm. Right.
version. You can store things in the cloud, or you can store things on your hard drive, and it
Right.
occurs like consciousness is stored on your hard drive. Like your consciousness is over there where you are, stored on your hard drive.
Yeah.
And I think if you meditate at all, you have had the experience of being tapped into the cloud
Uh-huh.
version of consciousness. That really what's stored on your over there where you are is only a version of whatever's been piped in from the universal consciousness. That their consciousness is not an individual phenomenon. It does not exist where the consciousness that exists for you is not personal to you. It's consciousness. Now you have your own view of it, and it's what you see is shaped by your history and what you've decided about life and the labels you've given things, and you created a view of life. But everyone recognizes the fact that their view of life is distinct from everyone else's view of life. In fact, this whole thing about consciousness is a fallout probably of the fact that you see life differently than I see life, and you see life differently than your kids see life, and your spouse sees life, and everyone sees life differently, but everyone interacts with life like what they see is life.
Right.
Not what they see as their particular view of it. They
Right.
act as if what they're seeing is life, and we act as if our consciousness is our
Yeah.
consciousness versus it's our limited download
Yeah. Right.
from the universal consciousness.
That reminds me of the three blind men and the elephant. You've talked
Yes.
about like, oh, my consciousness is this is a hairy pole. This is a, one big hairy light, lamp pole. And the other one's like, no, my consciousness is this is a bendy snake that, whatever, with two holes.
Right. Yes. So there's
But
there's
it's all one big picture. It's all one bigger
right.
thing.
And
Yeah.
meditation is an access to the bigger picture. And one of the benefits, this whole thing came out of one of the benefits I have found, personally discovered for myself. It's a very redundant sentence. Um, uh, is the thinning of the veil, and I know we've talked about that.
Right.
The permeability of the veil between me and consciousness. And, that's
Right.
one of the benefits of meditation, is that you lose that illusion of being separate from
Yeah. Right.
the conscious. You are, like
Right.
no more
Mm.
separate than a leaf is from the branch than is from the roots. You are a tree. You
Yeah.
are life. You are
Yeah. Yeah.
the product of life as much. You are the product of life as much as a blade of grass is a product of life, or a rock, or
Yeah.
anything else. You are
Right.
one
Right.
of the
Right.
things
Right.
that life has produced. Life has produced as a human is the expression over there where you are. And, as we connect to that through slowing down, and what no self, no problem would point to is the part that's slowing down is the left logical, analytical, categorizational
Mm.
brain. Your left brain quiets down,
Yeah.
and you just begin to experience things without labeling them, without categorizing them, without putting them into buckets, without separating them out, just noticing things as they are, as it is and as it is not, is a rise in interest in what the right brain has to communicate about life.
I feel like we have to. Okay, so something's opening up for me in the conversation, that if we're really going to have the conversation, we have to wrestle with who we think we are. Like,
Yeah.
if who you are is separate from source, then your consciousness does live on your hard drive, and my consciousness lives on my hard drive, because we are separate. We are not
Right.
connected. We are not all from extensions of source. We are,
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
yeah, yeah. But if we are all extensions of source, I remember Wayne Dyer he'd say, like, uh, imagine the ocean, and you go out into the ocean and you have a bucket, and like one of those 5-gallon Home Depot buckets, and you scoop up a bucket of ocean. What is in the bucket? It's the ocean. It's the ocean. It might not be all the parts of the ocean, but it is the ocean in a bucket. But we don't tend to see ourselves that way. We say,
Right.
I am this bucket, you're that bucket, and we think we're separate, but we're not. And so that's going to have a real impact on whether you think there's something available to you in your intuition versus not available to you.
Yeah. Well, we then have to go. So if you are already acknowledging that you are the ocean,
Yeah.
right, and it's captured in the bucket of your skin bag and
Yep.
your view of life,
Yeah.
right? If that's the defining characteristics of the amount of ocean that you represent,
Yeah.
then you could say, and we are saying, and inviting people in,
Mm-hmm.
that mindfulness, meditation, and mindfulness is one way to soften the edges of the bucket so that you can experience yourself as the ocean and not just some separate
Right.
container.
Yep.
That the walls of the container thin, the metaphor for the bucket of the ocean ceases to be useful in this in some way, because you are the ocean. You are in the ocean, so it's not like you've been taken away from the ocean. So it's not you just get to experience yourself again as the wholeness and completeness of life. No beginning, no end.
Yeah, that is the thinning of the veil. That
Right.
the walls of the bucket are thinned.
Yes.
And you don't see yourself as stuck in a bucket. You see yourself as the ocean. That's
right.
exactly what we're describing.
That's exactly what we're describing. So, and what we're saying, and what we're bringing in this idea of, so that's who we are and where you are in the world.
One more thing
And
on that, because just one more thing on that. So I think also this is where imposter syndrome and fear of missing out and I'm not good enough to lead that, and I don't have agency in my life. All of these things start to pop in because you think you're a bucket. You think you're separate from
right.
the ocean. And if you actually knew yourself as the ocean, an extension of the ocean,
Right.
you would honor all that you are, because you know that you are an extension of the ocean, that you are the ocean. I think that matters to you and me about what our premise of things are. If you want
Totally.
people to have agency and I want leaders to lead, then you got to stop thinking you're less than somebody else, because we're all a damn ocean.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're
Okay,
just,
sorry, go ahead.
that's right. And that begins to speak to the utility of this in terms of the mindful CEO ness, is that you stop pretending that you are this individual trying to make shit happen, trying to, force waves on the ocean or calm the waves down of the ocean or do anything with the ocean. You don't have any fucking say about the ocean's going to do what the ocean does, and you get to swim or drown, but that's, you get to be a part of it or not. So there's a real utility in our acknowledging that, in the mindfulness of it, of slowing down, experiencing ourselves as part of that wholeness and completeness of the whole. And we were then looking at intuition and how intuition works.
Yeah.
How does one maximize the utility of their intuition? And we have to then define intuition. And I thought you brought up something good. You have to first define or create an agreement that the universe is, given we are part of the universe, that we're, like, we're not separate from that that it is pulling for our highest good.
Yeah. I mean, if you get too philosophical, it could be like, you're now back to like, this is the part that's hard for the left brain or the logical brain to try to like reconcile, because we might think, are we personifying the universe as a benevolent entity? Like, does it, we say all we need is love. God is love. Consciousness has your best interest in mind. Law of attraction, you just have to think things and good things are going to happen. There is this agreement. In the woo-woo woods. There is this agreement that the universe is love and has your best interest. And all you need to do is lean into that. Somebody else who's, I don't want to say agnostic, but somebody else who's like philosophical about it, be like, no, man, this is all just ones and zeros and there is no personification of anything. This is all chaos happening, around us. But I don't think most of us who are into the conversation of mindfulness, I don't think believe that. I think we think I think our agreement is that the universe is on my side. Even if the collected evidence we have about that is my life is really hard. I think we like the idea that there's access to something that a higher power that has my back. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts on that. So,
okay, good.
I think, I mean, I think everything said is valid and useful and possibly even true. I just noticing I had this thing about belief. You said the word belief.
Uh-huh.
And it was, you don't, I'm not particularly interested in belief as I am in, like, I don't believe in gravity and I don't believe in the chair underneath me or like, I just, those things are, but I don't, belief doesn't enter into it.
Okay.
So I don't know that we want to go down the road of we believe these things to be true. What have you experienced in life? Do you have an experience of everything working out? I think even if so then I go down, okay, well, there are people who have really shitty circumstances and no, everything hasn't worked out, right? Like, I can hypothesize or I can theorize.
You're three episodes in a row. You're crushing your
The
vocabulary.
linguistitude.
Yeah.
I can theorize. There it is.
Yeah.
About, people who've had super fucked up, lives that, the lives that I would deem fucked up. I think of the Thich Nhat Hanh refugee, the Thich Nhat Hanh poem, "Call Me by My True Name," both the pirate and the little 12-year-old who's raped by the pirate. And when you get into recognizing that we are all of it, we're the pirate and we're the 12-year-old, that whether it's not so much that the universe doesn't give a shit, it's that even that is adding something to it. I mean, we could just go back to it's empty and meaningless.
Okay.
It's empty and meaningless. It's empty and meaningless.
Sure.
Like it's neither benevolent nor is it, what's the opposite of benevolent? Aggressive. I don't know. What's the opposite of benevolent?
Tyrannical
Or evil, or chaotic. It simply is, is doing what it's doing. So, but the ability to tap into, and I think that's something, and that is something I've experienced. Like I don't need to believe in that the universe is universing. And, it goes back to the Kurt Vonnegut quote that things are so complicated, we have no way of knowing what's good or bad. Right? Remember that quote did we do that quote on the show? Hang on, I want to get the quote right because it's Vonnegut and it's worth getting right because it's fucking Kurt Vonnegut. And he's the shit. And the quote is, the truth is, we know so little about life. We don't really know what the good news is and what the bad news is.
Wait, say it again because it cut off. I don't know if the recording cut it off, but I couldn't hear it. So say it again.
No, sorry, you get it or you don't. That's not. No. The truth is, we know so little about life. We don't really know what the good news is and what the bad news is. And I think that's a really useful place to start or to stand regarding the universe. We know so little about life. We can't tell what the good news is or what the bad news is. We know so little about it.
Yeah.
That even our laying horrific or delightful on a situation is from the personal perspective and not.
Yeah. Okay, man. But I mean, I agree with you. I like that a lot. I think that's a very freeing perspective. And then you say that, and I think how much of our world and our opinion is driven by the things we believe, the things we want to be true, the things we hold as true, global warming this and political perspectives that. And
the Buddha would say that is the source of your suffering.
Right.
That is that is how much of your life is given by your point of view.
Yes.
Is the degree to which you are suffer in life.
And we're willing to throw hands around the things that, we will hold contempt. We'll get tied up in a knot. We'll resort to our plant medicine just to escape and get away because we can't hold it all as all.
But it is
right.
It is what it is. And
I get that. I can get that.
And that's an avenue. And look, so that's the avenue that opens through meditation, right? Through mindfulness is the open, and that is the nature of living a grateful life in a fucked up world. It's everything that I've been out to create is all of it.
Yeah.
You don't get you don't get gratitude without grief. You don't It's all of it. You have all of it. It is all there for us. And the more we can open ourselves to all of it, the more we can tap into whatever is the next step in our evolution, good, bad, right, or wrong. The opportunity shows up through this thing that we're calling intuition. We're going to want to at least get back to intuition before time.
It's all building up to it. It's all important. It's all important.
We'll see. I feel a little bit like I'm wrangling it back, but
no, I think this is good though.
But so we're tapping into this thing that the right brain is tapped into at all times, the universe, the universal consciousness, the big C consciousness, the big S self. And being able to hear that, whether it's good news or bad news, we just don't, it's tapped into the space beyond good news and bad news. It's tapped into the space that doesn't need to label it good or bad. It's just tapped into the space, and it is what it is. It is exactly the way it is. And our ability to tap into our intuition in that way provides, I know that the Esther Hicks version of this would be, it taps into, look, if it's tapping into all of it, you're going to get drawn to the things you like. You're going to move in that direction. Plants move in the direction of sunlight. They move in the direction of that which gives them more life. And it's not like the plant has consciousness that divides things into good or bad, but it certainly has consciousness to the degree to which it points its leaves in the direction of the sun. Now, we don't have to call that consciousness. The left brain is too big of a fucking, too hoity-toity to deem plants turning toward the sun as consciousness.
Right.
But I don't have any problem saying that that's a level of consciousness that we may or may not understand.
I hear vibration in this, like instead of thinking good news, bad news, right?
Yeah.
Just vibration. I think that's another Abraham angle on that would just be frequency, vibration. And there are some vibrations that really give us life and feel good. And there are other vibrations that detract from life and make us feel bad. It's all the ocean. You can't say, we have a tendency, we talked about romanticizing things an episode or two ago, but we have a tendency to romanticize the ocean. We think sunsets, like dolphins jumping. But we don't think about the terrors of ocean, rip currents that kill people, and pirate ships that in the Titanic, ships that got eaten by the ocean, and sharks that eat. Okay, so we can keep going, but it's all just the ocean, and I guess it also reminds me of that story of the guy who lost his son, and they're like, "Oh, we're so sorry that you lost your son." He's like, "Well, we'll see." That's not how it goes, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's like everything's just like everybody thinks, "Oh, it's good. Oh, that's bad," and every time his response is, "We'll see." I don't know. We'll see.
Right? Maybe.
Maybe.
And that is where we're pointing to. So, tapping into our intuition, I don't think is like, okay, it's not the answer to getting. I don't know. It's a space of quiet that is not languageable, because the moment you language it, it's no longer intuitive. It's now, you've attempted to bring it over. The left brain has put its arms around it in some way and has categorized it, versus the right brain just sensing into what the vibration is and what the space is, and moving towards, the sea. It all points to the paradox of, the Buddha sat from a sense of wanting to remove suffering, to discover what it would take to remove suffering, right? And what it took to remove suffering was the letting go of the need to remove suffering. That's what it takes, is that you sit with an intention to remove suffering, and what you discover is the only way to remove suffering is to lose your attachment to losing the suffering.
Okay.
It's a paradox.
It's a paradox.
The fundamental paradox of Buddhism, of meditative life, is the goal is to achieve a goalless life. And that shit breaks your brain, but that's the joke. So intuition is somehow tapping into all of that. And we were then, you and I pre-show, we're talking about all the spaces of what passes for intuition, or what's commonly called intuition, is really just mostly heuristics, mostly left brain shortcuts. Things like confirmation bias, all the biases that we have. And we're talking about how you differentiate between the two. And I think it's even a little bit more obvious for you and me now, if it isn't for everyone listening, which I would be surprised if it was for anyone listening, that biases have one of the things that you get sensitive to in meditation and mindfulness is you get sensitive to the difference between the way the left brain feels and the way the right brain feels. You become sensitized to one is sharp and quick and edgy and righteous and has an attachment to the view and an unwillingness to let go of the view. And the right brain doesn't have any of that. The right brain just is observing it all. And intuition comes from observing it all and sensing into the vibration of the situation and seeing what's the next highest vibration, and moves toward the sunlight, because water flows to the sea and plants grow toward the sun. And there's no striving in that. And there's an intentionality, consciousness that goes beyond what the left brain is capable of saying about it.
Are you saying that the plant growing towards the sun is the plant's intuition?
I'm saying the plant growing toward the sun is a kind of consciousness the plant is exhibiting.
Yeah.
That the only way our left brain could categorize that kind of consciousness, one way to categorize that kind of consciousness from our left brain is to label it some kind of intuition or some kind of consciousness. We're speaking from our left brain.
Right.
So it's not it.
Language is our left brain. Right.
We're labeling that way. And so, I wouldn't argue for that. I wouldn't have an attachment to it, but I would suggest that it wouldn't be wrong to say a plant turning toward the sun is expressing some sort of consciousness. And whether or not your left brain or anyone's left brain would label that consciousness or not, I don't really want to argue about it. It's not important to me enough to argue about it. If you want to argue that it's not consciousness, great. Then we're probably not we're not having the same conversation. We're just not having that conversation. You know what I mean? Like, we're not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's outrageous to consider. And that's what I mean by looking for the hard edges of things.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't need that to have a hard edge. I don't I don't need to be right about that. And I don't need, and if you're going to be right about that, then I don't need to talk to you about it, because I'm not going to engage in it from that space of being right about it. I don't know. And certainly by your definition of consciousness, it's not. and I will grant you that if you have a definition of consciousness that doesn't include plants turning towards the sun, I got no problem with your definition of consciousness. It's just not my definition of consciousness.
Right. Yeah.
And I think intuition is consistent with that other definition, that whatever world holds a definition of consciousness that includes plants turning towards the sun as consciousness, whatever world holds that definition is the world that intuition comes from. And whatever world holds plants turning to the sun is not an expression of consciousness, is the world in which what passes for intuition comes from.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Like my bias would say, no, that's not intuition. It's a bias that would come to the conclusion that, and it's the soft curiosity that would hold that as a possible.
Yeah, I don't even know that it's a bias that would have you say it's not intuition. I mean, you could have put real thought into it and not be a shortcut, and not be a heuristic, and really you could define consciousness slowly and deeply and have it exclude plants turning towards the sun.
Yeah.
Not even intentionally, not even like trying to gerrymander it into it. It just doesn't include it, not with any nefarious or disrespectful content, intent. It just doesn't include it, and that's fine. It's absolutely, it could even be brilliant. It could be useful. It could be important to do it that way in certain contexts. I'm only suggesting it's not the only context. It's not the true context. It's not the truth. It's a available context, and it's, like I said, if it could be valuable, but it's that context, that world in which that exists, also includes biases as intuition.
Right.
It includes that what you call intuition probably are more like biases, what I would call biases.
Yeah.
That there's another world, though, in which plants turning towards the sun as an expression of consciousness includes intuition as a way of tapping into the universe and and tapping into the big S self and the big C consciousness, the universal consciousness, that's what intuition is.
And that's really the point. I mean, I think the point of the conversation or the inquiry is to look at the benefit. Why do it if there's no benefit? The benefit is to develop intuition or to return to intuition for the benefit it can give you. That there is as CEOs, as mindful CEOs, we can be out there funnel hacking everybody else's thing, trying to decide what's the right in air quotes, the right way to do it. And there's a bias of what is the right way to do it, which cuts off. I mean, I think it was episodes ago, but you were talking about like how much little of the brain we actually can access. I think you were saying that, but you just think like how this, not even that doesn't have to be the brain, but just the whole mechanism that is our meat suit that has the ability to connect and tap into this wisdom, this consciousness that we're a part of. We just don't even play with a fraction of what we would have access to.
And I think that's the power of mindfulness and meditation, is that it taps us into way more of what's available to us.
Right. And that's the point of the inquiry. It's like,
yes,
to thin the veil, not just because you can thin the veil.
No, but because you can tap into more information that's currently available through our limited view, which would include, amongst other things, it would exclude plants as conscious.
I didn't know we were going to go down the
I didn't know we were going to go down that. I didn't know how much of a thing. That was a real good collywomple. I'll take that.
It was a good cut. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it's so interesting how many things we don't discuss like this in our daily lives, but have, I think, huge ramifications. Like we're living our life from a bunch of biases and assumptions, and we're missing what's available to add color and texture to our life because we're not as intuitive as we were born to be. So I mean, that's one of the reasons I love the Mindful CEO Mastermind. I think in that space that you and I are holding for that, there's a conversation we get to explore that actually takes us, helps us thin that veil and takes us beyond our limited biases and ways that we tend to approach things. So those of you listening, if you want to learn more about the Mindful CEO Mastermind, make sure you get into one of Aaron's 9-week How to Live a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World, or How to Live a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up Industry cohorts. They're free. Aaron, they can go to
gratefulbreath.com or therealtorsedge.com, depending on your skew in life. And yeah, so you can get yourself more information and registered at either on the next cohort start on September 3rd.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
Beautiful. All right. Love it. Thanks everybody for being here. If you like the show, give us a thumbs up and a review, and we will catch you the next time.
All right.
Peace.
Party on.